Hello there. Thank you for joining us on the last edition of Journalists Hangout this week. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Today on the program, INEC recounts losses over a series of attacks on its facilities, says 11 offices, 13 vehicles and 429 generators are lost. Acting Inspector General of Police says SARS disbandment has created a vacuum for the police, reveals that planners of attack on Governor Ortom are now in custody. And later on the show, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu appreciates Lagosians as administration clocks too, calls for continued support for his government. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Dotun Oladipo. Journalists Hangout starts now. Yes, welcome once again to Journalists Hangout. These are not interesting times for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakub, is lamenting over constant attacks on its facilities, saying it could undermine democracy. The electoral body says its offices across 14 states have been attacked 41 times since the 2019 general election. And in the last 4 weeks, 11 INEC offices were either set ablaze or vandalized, leaving 13 vehicles and 429 generators destroyed. Before we kickstart the discussion, let me welcome my guests. BKO is in the house. You're welcome, BKO.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, we also have our friend, a very good friend of the house, Dotun Oladipo.
Thank you so much.
Glad to be with you once again on the program.
Thank you.
Okay, BKO, I'll start with you traditionally. Before we begin to look at, the what's and take stock of what's been destroyed, Enugu has been hit, Ebonyi has been hit, Abia has been hit, Akwa Ibom
4
has
times.
been hit. Yes. So, what is it about the southeast and the south region that it's been under attack? Not just attacks on INEC offices, but also attacks on police formations in that part of the country?
I have increasingly demanded for answers to this same question. We need to know the unhidden reasons behind these attacks. These attacks are abnormal. They are not common, especially the attack on police stations. Attacks on INEC facilities are not limited to the south or the southwest. INEC facilities have been attacked in Kano, set ablaze, in Ondo, those states where more than 5,000 card readers were burnt. In Abuja, INEC facilities have been destroyed. Before and after the 2019 elections, we saw INEC offices being attacked, being set ablaze. There has been no one, to the best of my knowledge, prosecuted for these attacks. So if there is an absence of investigation and prosecution and jailing of people who attacked INEC facilities in 2019, then it shouldn't surprise anyone that the trend has not stopped, because where you fail to punish, criminals tend to have a feeling that, look, they could get away with blue murder. We are seeing that. Talking about attack on police formations, especially in the southwest, but not limited to the southeast, south as well. One is inclined to think that those attacks are being carried out by the paramilitary wing of IPOB, but they've continually refused to take responsibility for those attacks. So we have to keep working hard. I know that the police, in the fullness of time, will be able to lay their hands on the perpetrators of these crimes, and we will eventually get to know who their sponsors are and their mission. So I'm confident that we will make progress in the fullness of time on that. But for INEC, I do not see any reason for these attacks other than the fact that some people do not simply want to show that, look, the way to resist government, the way to show government that we do not believe in it, we do not accept it, is to begin to attack government institutions, including INEC. Boko Haram started in this manner. They were attacking police stations, they were attacking correctional facilities, they were attacking even schools. Today, we can see where Boko Haram is. So it could be that some elements opposed to the government of the day are doing this as a way of drawing attention to themselves and showing the government that they are ready to resist it. But it's taking a heavy toll on INEC, and something has to be done about it. Otherwise, it may be difficult to do elections in those places. Not one of those buildings that were destroyed in 2019 have been rebuilt. So if INEC has not got the funds to rebuild its damaged infrastructure, and elections are looming, so where are we going? How are we going to conduct elections in those places if the trend continues? So it's more than 23, since 2019, more than 23.
That's the count.
Yes, have already been attacked. And the things that they are destroying are expensive. It costs 167,000 to buy a card reader. So, and then the memory card that comes with it costs 6,000. In Ondo State alone, we lost about 5,144. So you can imagine how much we've lost. And across the states where these attacks are happening, we are also losing card readers, losing election cubicles, losing generators, losing even ballot materials. So it's really perplexing, and I do hope that we will be able to find a solution to this this ugly development before it's too late.
Yeah, Doctor, I'll come to you now. As much as I'd have loved to pursue BKO's line of thought, BKO talked about progress in investigation and bringing to book the elements perpetrating these heinous acts. Ebubeagu, the security initiative in that part of the country, says it has arrested 37 suspects who plan to attack one of the INEC offices in that region. Are you optimistic that anything can come out of this? And if indeed, as BKO says, he's inclined to believe that perhaps it's those who are opposed to this government that wants to show that, of course, it can, upset the system. If indeed that is the case, what do you say about naming and shaming?
Well, from what the INEC chairman told the media during this meeting with the security chiefs, he already has his fears about 2023, though he claimed that elections will go ahead as scheduled. But like BKO said, when you look at these things that were destroyed, beyond the money, they take time to purchase, to configure, especially the card readers. So this has led to a thinking that perhaps there are people who don't want elections to hold in 2023. And when you look at it, it begins to sink into the position of the indigenous people of Biafra, in the sense that they say Nigeria should not stand again as it is. Let us go away. So perhaps going with that thinking, This is to ensure that elections don't hold.
But then again, don't forget that BKO says INEC offices have been attacked in Abuja.
No, what we're saying is...
So does IPOB's influence extend to that?
No, what we're saying is this. The recent ones.
Okay.
Not those ones that happened before now when we've had this series. I mean, for now, that is the thinking. So, but I don't want to go along with the fact that we shouldn't hold elections in 2023. So what we should do, if we go by what the new security outfit in the Southeast, Ebubuagu, had said, is to ensure that there is a process for nipping in the bud these things. We've said it several times here. Reacting cannot in any way be compared to stopping any crime. Because what you lose when you allow it to happen is far more than you can. The way it is going now, it is obvious that it is to put fear into Nigerians, not to be able to come out freely to do things,
vote.
Especially during elections. We've said it here. There is a constant dwindling in the number of voters in this country. If we are to go by majority voting in an election to elect a candidate based on actual figures, we won't be able to get it in Nigeria. What we do is just the simple majority of those who show up. Because people are now very scared of coming out to exercise their right to vote. And with what is happening now, it is very likely this will extend to 2023. So for us, or for me, I would say, we need more of intelligence gathering before these things happen. We need to know those who are behind it. Because we can't just keep saying these attacks are happening and nothing is happening. Today, a police station was attacked again in Delta State. 2 policemen were killed. Another one was said to have died in the hospital from shock from that attack. If we continue like this, we won't have policemen on the streets again. We won't. Because what this movement is doing is to put in fear into everybody, including security operatives. And like BKO stated, it was a small movement like this that turned into Boko Haram. They started with the small things, then they began to eat even military facilities, which we believe were well fortified. We shouldn't get there in this case, especially in the Southeast and the South-South, where this trend is becoming stronger. When you look at some of the past destructions, you could link them to violence resulting from people being dissatisfied with the way elections were conducted in some of those parts of the country. But this one, there is no election anywhere now. None.
Just unprovoked attack.
Unprovoked. So none. No, if you had, okay, in Ondo, they had an issue, they went there, destroyed everything. They are the losers. Or let me say, we Nigerians are the losers. Because all these things will be replaced with our money. It's our funds that we are destroying. So if we don't have elections now, and these things are being done, then the thinking begins to take shape that some people don't want elections to hold again. We should look at who are those people.
We are back to who those people are.
Yeah, who are those people?
You haven't addressed naming and shaming, but I'll bring naming and shaming yet again to BKO. According to one of the reports, the INEC office in Enugu was allegedly carried out by hoodlums driving in about 20 buses.
Yes.
That tells me that
those are rich hoodlums.
It takes a lot of resources,
rich hoodlums.
It took a lot of efforts, a lot of energy into that kind of attack. And it also brings to mind the report not too long ago about how those who are financing terrorism in the country had been nabbed. but the Attorney General of the Federation said some persons cannot be named. BK, if you could relate that, what are your thoughts on, if indeed arrests have been made by Bubiagu, what are your thoughts on naming and shaming so that there can be progress in the fight against those who are perpetrating these heinous acts?
I'm not even interested in naming and shaming. Okay. I'm interested in naming and jailing. There's no, these people don't have shame.
They don't.
If you know them very well. Let the law take its course. I said since 2019, I've not seen an individual prosecuted for burning INEC office. Not one. So if during the electoral season we allowed this to happen, we didn't prosecute anyone, probably we didn't even investigate, then it's bound to continue. But when we begin to arrest and put people on trial, then they will know that they can't get away with it and they will think twice. Yeah. When I'm by no means suggesting death penalty, but I remember that when Buhari and Nigeria won dual dictatorship held sway in the early 80s, and it was death for drug trafficking. My God. People were scared to get involved in drug trafficking. In fact, the law, what the law said was that even holding it, you are holding maybe in trust for someone. You are holding illicit drugs in trust for someone. You are guilty. And that's the law even outside of this country. Maybe someone passed it to you to go and to give to someone who will come and meet you in the airport, to pass to someone who will come and meet you in the airport. The law does not want to know. It's found on you, you are culpable. There was a case of a woman who was beheaded in Saudi Arabia, because in Saudi Arabia, if you are caught with illicit drug, you get tried at the airport there. The justice is served right there at the airport. The woman kept protesting until she was decapitated. Because most likely she was given to pass to someone else. She didn't even know the content. So at that time, there was the case, during the Buhari time, there was the case of the NDLA people, the law enforcement, trying to arrest a suspect, and the suspect threw the illicit drug to someone. The moment that one held it, they said, okay, you are culpable. It's like receiving stolen goods. If you are a receiver of stolen goods, you are just as guilty as the person who has stolen it, you know? So, and the Miscellaneous Offences Tribunal will put you on trial too for being a receiver of stolen goods. So, this is the thing. Let's even begin to see clear signs that we are putting people on trial, we are making people to pay for their crimes against the state. If we fail to do this, and if justice is not served quickly, we will not go far. See generators, so many of them destroyed. We will not go far. These things will continue.
And in this era of dwindling federal allocation, we have a caller on the line. Sorry we kept you on. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, you're on. Go ahead very quickly with your contribution.
Yeah, I really detest violence of any kind. I don't support violence at all.
No.
And I will not encourage what is going on in the Southeast. But again, in Nigeria, we like to talk about issues, and we don't talk about the remote cause or causes of issues. So, in the East,
You're really taking your time, or is it network?
He's listening to himself.
Okay. All right. We thank you very much for that contribution. He talked about remote causes. I wish he was able to land on his point.
Whatever the cause, or whatever. I mean, violence is not. It's not the
no
answer.
Justification for
No
violence.
justification.
Innocent people die in the process.
What I'll call a man who wants to do his things by himself in terms of maybe protest. We've always seen that in this country. Once you begin a protest, you lose control. Even for labor, that's what happens. You see labor saying we want to hold a peaceful rally, a peaceful protest, and some people hijack it. So we should begin to look at how some of us who have a voice or who have voices in this country react to issues so that we don't push people into protests that we eventually lose control of.
That is very instructive concerning what our next
Shouldn't.
topic is. As we move on, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, has stated that the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, complicated the country's security challenges. He says it is difficult for regular police officers to immediately assume the roles left by the disbanded unit, as the newly instituted Special Weapons and Tactics Squad, SWAT, is yet to be fully operational. The acting IG also revealed that culprits responsible for the attack on the governor of Benue State, Sanwo-Olu, in March, have been caught and will be prosecuted. The arrest will definitely shed more light on the circumstances surrounding the attack against the notions of some Nigerians and the governor at that time. Of course, BKO warned against hasty conclusion and called for caution when the issue came up for discussion on the program on the 22nd of March. Let's share that with you.
At this stage, we really need to be cautious and not rule anything out or rule anything in. You know why I'm saying this? Sometimes to mask the true intentions of some aggressors or to mask the true identity of some aggressors, they can decide to fly a kite, come up with some claims that would divert attention from the real perpetrators of the crime. The so-called Fulani group that reports claimed that they carried this out is until now little known, and the people behind it are not even known at all. The way it is now, no one knows them. No one knows whether somebody just sat down somewhere and claimed that this was done by a particular group, because we've seen people in the past try to do this kind of thing. So I really would advise Nigerians to let the security agencies conduct a full inquest into what has happened. And I also do not think that no matter what the so-called Mieti Allah faction, the faction that calls itself Mieti Allah Kaltahori, had said in the past about the governor, no matter the threats that they had issued in the past about the governor, I don't think it is right at this stage for even the governor to conclude that this was where this attack came from, because it could be another group. So when I believe that the Nigerian police is capable of getting to the root of this matter, no matter how long it takes. We want to believe that the DSS, the police, will be able to do a thorough investigation and lead us to who exactly carried out this attack. You know, in the state that the governor found himself, he could easily have come to the conclusion that the same Kaltahore group that he had a running battle with were behind it. But at this stage, I can only urge caution. Let us have a thorough investigation. At the end of the day, we will discover who indeed carried out this attack.
Yes, a word of caution there from BKO on the 22nd of March following the attack on the governor of Benue State, Sanwo-Olu. And now that the security operatives have made arrests, BKO, I'm coming to you. Going by the character of state institutions to be very economical with reports, outcomes of report, particularly when they have to do with controversies and thorny issues like this, are you optimistic that something concrete like what you talked about in that word of caution will come out, particularly revealing the identity of the perpetrators of the attack?
You know, what the governor said at that time was that he was sure that the attack was carried out by the Fulani group. And I felt it was too early to say that. That was the point that I was making, that it was too early to say this was carried out by a Fulani group. And there was a so-called statement purportedly from a Fulani group claiming responsibility, but when you read it clearly, you see clearly that there is no one that you can actually pin that to. A miscreant could sit on social media and generate a statement saying, I did this, or a group did this. It's common these days. It's common these days. So I knew that at that time that something was wrong. You know, something was wrong. And I was sure too that it was too early for the governor to say, these were my attackers. We are beginning to see now that the direction in which the governor was looking was not where the attack came from. And the IG has said it that the governor was wrong as per where he thought the attack came from. There are many violent groups within Benue State, including Ghana's group. Yeah. Ghana's group is probably even the bloodiest in that state in terms of their bloodthirsty nature. So, and they too remain unhappy because of the manner Ghana was killed by the Nigerian army, you know, at a point when they already volunteered to embrace peace. So I felt it was too early to come to that conclusion, and I still stand on that. When this sort of thing happens, we need to be patient a little bit, see how events unfold, instead of quickly saying, no, this must have come from these sources. Yes, I'm not saying that criminal headsmen don't carry out attacks in Benue. There is sufficient evidence of that, and arrests have been made, even by Abba Kyari and his team, going as far as Nasarawa State, a forest in Nasarawa State, to arrest some killer headsmen who are terrorizing Benue. So we have evidence that, yes, they had been carrying out attacks. But it doesn't mean that when something happens to the governor, it must have been them. And then when Nigerians without a good grasp of what happened, trying to ridicule the governor to say, oh, you had a bulletproof car, yet you chose to run for social media. Silly things that Nigerians were saying. The farm that the governor visited was a swamp, a swampy area. He parked his car far away. So when the attack happened, he had to run on foot to where the car was parked. You knew nothing about what happened. You have no evidence. Yet you claim, no, he lied. He couldn't have run. What is, because you did not know that the location where the car was parked was far from the farm. Because even that farm is just at the foot of the Benue River. So do you then drive your jeep straight into the Benue River? So many things happen at that time because Nigerians respond too much to emotions. And they say, oh, he's a liar. Some were even calling him automatic. Some nonsensical things that they were saying about the man. It could happen to anyone.
Yeah, true.
We are in a state here now that even some of the people who try to ridicule us when we say security needs to improve in our country, they can't travel without taking 2 or 3 policemen heavily armed with them. Why don't they take the risk? Drive on Kaduna Expressway without police escort. Instead of sitting down on social media, on Facebook, and give the impression that all is well. But you lack the balls to travel without a police escort. You can afford it, so you give police money, and then about 3 of them will guide you. And then when you are back safe, when you are back, you then go back to social media to say, no, I traveled on Kaduna, Abuja, nothing happened to me. You will not lie to the people who believe the idiocy that you spew on social media. You will not admit to them that you took about 3 heavily armed policemen with you. This is what is happening. Our people would rather get into a train than drive on that road. And it was not like that before. It used to be fun. So this is the thing. Let people not come to a conclusion too early. Let the police be allowed to do their work.
I hope it's not lost on us that this is yet another direct consequence of the instability in the country caused by farmer-herder clashes. You're watching Journalists Hangout. We're still with this topic, particularly, the other part of the talking point from the Acting Inspector General of Police. Let's take a break now. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Journalists Hangout. We're reaching you live from TVC News. And if you've just joined us, we're on our second topic. And moving from the first, we're looking at the disclosure by the Inspector General of Police that the SARS protests led to a vacuum in the security formations of the Nigeria police. And of course, the news also from him that arrests on those who made attack on the governor of Benue State have been made. So to the first part of the Inspector General of Acting IG of Police disclosure, I'm coming to you now, Dotun. What are the legitimate concerns that may be preventing the new SWAT from taking off?
Well, you don't put a team together, an investigative team together in days or months. It takes time to build. When you look at the structure that SARS had, it was firm, it was cohesive. And like we warned on this program, when there is a problem, you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. That was exactly what we did with SARS. Because like we've said on this program also, there are people who are highly placed officers in the Nigeria police today who have either been a part or have headed the SARS. We've mentioned 2. One of them is Abakari, the Deputy Commissioner of Police now. When he was in Lagos, heading SARS, we knew what he did. Another person who has reason to become a Deputy Inspector General of Police was the former commissioner in Osun State, Leyo Yibade. So you have people in that force, I mean, in SARS, who did well. But because we were in a hurry, because of some bad elements, we threw them all out. This week, I'm sure you must have seen a trending video of a soldier who left his duty post, told his colleague he was, just excuse me, I'll be back, and went for an armed robbery operation. And was caught. We've seen it in the Air Force, we've seen it in the Navy, we've seen it in the civil defense. It cuts across people who have arms and ammunition to perpetrate evil. There will always be evil ones among them. It's established. So instead of totally throwing out SARS, perhaps we should have developed a system that can transform that process. I'm also against harassment of citizens. But when you look at it, it's not, even till now, it's not only SARS that harass it. You hear it virtually every day. Soldiers deployed to checkpoints. And by soldiers, I want us to cover the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy.
But Dr. What do you say to those who believe that SARS in itself is not what brought us here today, but was a legitimate agitation arising as a result of a concern in the force that was unattended to and had to happen?
Completely. I agree with that. But the demand at that time was for the disbandment of SARS. That was what we had. No, you see, it was just like I said in the first part. When we begin a protest, we usually don't harmonize our thoughts. What do we really want to achieve? What we just want to do is, let's get on the streets. But you must be able to, and like some prominent Nigerians said during the SARS protests, there is a point to which you get and you cut off your protest, because you know that at the end of the day, everyone will be the loser, including those who are protesting. And that's where we are. That's where we are.
I don't think it should take eternity to set up another group.
Okay.
It didn't take this long to set up SARS. SARS had not always been in the police. And within the police, I can tell you that so many policemen even hated the SARS guys because of their excesses. They were living above their means, and because of that, they were disrespecting other policemen. So many policemen were happy about the fate that befell SARS. I can tell you a lot of them were into drugs. One of the measures that were taken in determining whether to send some of them, the decision was to disband. But they said, okay, those who are still decent, responsible, should be retained. But before that, they should first conduct a test on them. Urine test on them. A lot of them, I can say publicly, I have the facts, that a lot of them tested positive to substance abuse. I'm saying this with a high sense of responsibility. That's the kind of SARS that we had. Go to the various states where hearing has been conducted and hear the gory stories emanating from those panels. SARS men would throw people down from 3-story building. People will be crippled for life. No society deserves that kind of police force. And no society deserves a police unit notorious for dragging people to ATM points and forcing them to part with money at gunpoint. No society deserves that kind of unit in the force. And there are many units in the force that can do the job that they do and that will not subject themselves to such ridicule. Because you destroy yourself when you go to the extent that these guys were going. Within them, we have the police mobile force. They can do the job that SARS does. You just mystified SARS. Police mobile force can do it. The IG's response team does it. They even have capacity to investigate. Kolo's team, DCP Kolo, tactical team, can do much better, and they are still doing it. A lot of those bandits that have been made to confess were arrested by Kolo's men. They can do the job that SARS does. When the governor of Benue was saying the other day that, oh, SARS this, SARS that, the question you want to ask yourself is it not in your state where bandits are killing people for fun? You give us the impression that SARS is the best thing since sliced bread, yet they cannot protect your state. I think whatever happened to SARS, they pushed the Nigerian people to the edge. And the Inspector General of Police and the President had no choice. Remember, even the then IG had come to Lagos twice over murder of young people by SARS. And on every occasion, he promised, I will take action, I will take action. No action was taken. They continued to kill people. There is a video that we showed. Did we show it? Or I saw it, where a SARS man, apparently crazed, said, Oga, give me the honor of killing him. And they were chasing that guy around the bus until he was shot down. If it happened in America, we will say, oh, the white police, they are bad. Some of us will start using the picture of the victim. In our country, when police kill people for fun, we turn the other eye. No, we don't need that kind of police. The police too, the police hierarchy, they were tired of the cases from SARS, and they thought that was the best thing to do. I do not think that it should take eternity to find an alternative to SARS. I do not buy the excuses that the IG
but then,
is giving.
BK, the realities
it's not
at
everyone.
the time that SARS was constituted are different from the realities now.
Hold on. Post some of these decent people, because even Fimiho Adeoye, one of the most decent policemen was come out of Nigeria, who used to head SARS. Take some of the decent people that you have tested them for substance abuse, and they came out clean. Take some of them, put them in SWAT. It cannot take eternity to form a group. How long did it take to form some of those military units that we have in the Northeast? What about the destruction on police formations that we have witnessed in the past? That is a different issue.
Okay.
He is saying that there is a vacuum. Vacuum in law enforcement is different from destruction of infrastructure. They still report to work. Police are still working. In Abuja, when I traveled last week, policemen, even at midnight, were still checking our vehicles. It's not as if policemen are not working anymore. In Ojodu, Faleke is taking care of the bond.
But BK, what about the numbers?
Number of what?
Number of policemen available now.
That is a problem that didn't start today. We were refusing to recruit into the police. Over a long time, we didn't recruit into the police. Now, it has caught up with us. It's the same thing with the army. We don't have enough soldiers.
It's everywhere.
So that is a different thing. But we cannot tolerate a group within the police that saw itself as God and began to take people's life. You cannot create a man. You have no right to take a life.
I wish we could go on and on with this topic. There's so much to address, but we must continue. Now, as we coast home gradually, it's been 3 years since Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, swore to serve and protect Lagosians. Celebrating 2 years in the saddle, the governor, who addressed the people on Thursday, expressed gratitude to them for the opportunity to serve and called for continued support for his administration. I'd like to come to you first of all, Dotun, on this. Yes, Governor Sanwo-Olu is grateful to Lagosians, but are Lagosians grateful to Governor Sanwo-Olu? Let's look at his scorecard, first of all, in a most critical aspect that would empower the youth and bring them out of poverty. How would you assess his administration, in terms of job creation in 2 years?
Well, maybe without trying to make excuses for the governor, I think we must admit that those of them who are serving first term now came in at a very difficult time. And unfortunately also, the issue of coronavirus disease came in. A lot of them have had to battle this since February of last year. And if there is any area where we must assess some of these governors, it is how they handled the coronavirus disease, the containment. I completely agree that we need to empower people, we need to create jobs, because the bottom line of all the crisis we've been having has been no jobs for the boys, no jobs for the youth. A lot of graduates are coming out of universities, they are just there on the streets, doing nothing. Despite the fact that, okay, we've also had arguments about people who have had the opportunities, but have refused to take them because they want cheap means of making money. But we must give it to the Lagos State governor. He did well for the COVID handling. And for me, if that constitutes 50% of what we need to praise him for, I think he has done well. And also because as things began to ease from COVID, we have also seen that there has been movement in the construction sector. There is no way you will not link that to creation of employment, even if it is temporary. You engage artisans, you engage at different levels. And we've seen it. He has completed a lot of schools, refurbished some, built some newly.
Yeah.
You had all his commissioners around the 6 educational districts less than 2 weeks ago, commissioning them. So if you've done those number of schools, there is no way you have not created employment. There is no way you have not put in some money into the system. It's commissioned roads, bridges, so numerous. The only challenge we've always had is we always want or demand for the institution of a system that on its own, without anybody intervening, can take care of our needs. For instance, you know the number of people who are going to come out of university this year. What do you want to make of them? So there should be a system that naturally, and we should also take note that it's not only in Nigeria that the unemployment rate is rising. It's all over. The US, the UK. Coronavirus has even made it worse. So hopefully, we can now begin to say, we can look at the next 2 years to be able to assess them fairly. Because when he came in, don't forget, the expectations were very high. Because we saw a number of gigantic projects that the administration before him did. So it became like the yardstick to measure him. Let's see the number of bridges he will do. Let's see the number of roads he will construct. I think he's done fairly well. Okay. If you look all around us, fine, over time, they solve this traffic problem here, but it comes back gradually because people will always find a way of making it return. Allen Avenue, for instance, the junction, that's remodeling that was done. If you go there now, you'll be happy wanting to go through that place. Look at the island, all the huge roundabouts, they are gone, and those things are working. So we must look all around and see what are the things that have worked.
But we hope Lagos must also begin to look beyond the capital and its environs to other parts.
But the other parts too. If you look at Badagry, if you look at Epe, for instance, the people of Epe were praising him some weeks back about the fact that he came and completed some projects there after the COVID. So
let's have BKO's thoughts.
Well, if we are to talk about Babajide Sanwo-Olu alias Selebu, we can spend the whole of this program on a given day and it will still not be enough because within a short time, it's done well. Yeah. And the facts are there. He has employed 3,000 new primary and secondary school teachers under the Eco-Excel scheme, which is meant to make learning experience beautiful for our kids. And he's also employed 2,000 primary school teachers. When you look at projects that he inherited, he's behaved like a decent human being. He carried on with those projects. I know some governors who deliberately abandon projects, that their predecessor initiated, but Selebu has refused to do that. He inherited the Pensinema Bridge at 20% completion. He has delivered it now. I am confident that by the time he leaves office, that is the time when Nigerians or Lagosians will appreciate this man so much. Look at the support that's given the police. Lagos is the most secure state in our country at this time. Even the Americans who issued travel advisory, they didn't mention Lagos as among the places to not go. And you can see that it's making efforts to defeat even cultism cultism and traffic robbery are the two big crimes in Lagos, and making efforts to defeat them so that Lagos can even be safer. Is just as he said, is built new primaries, new schools, you know, and 450 classrooms across the state, and bought more than 100,000 tables and chairs. What excites me the most are two. The things that excite me the most are two. One, the prospect of the Fourth Mainland Bridge. Because if he's able to deliver this Fourth Mainland Bridge, he will have cemented his legacy. Look at Ikorodu, a very sprawling community, bigger than Ijebu-Ode. There's just one main road that leads to that
in
area.
and out.
Just one. Fourth Mainland Bridge will sort that out. And I can tell you that cost of land and all that, even businesses will spring up in those areas once he's able to do it. And of course, the rail project is going to continue if he's able to finish that, and his desire to connect 1,600 schools in Lagos to the internet. If he's able to do that, connect Lagos public schools to the internet, if he's able to do that, people will look back and say, this man has really, really turned Lagos around. Lagos has always been lucky to have good governors. Sanwo-Olu has shown himself to be up to the task, shown himself to be a good governor and a good gentleman, So, because you could be a governor and not be a gentleman. There are things that he does not have to get involved in, but the good man in him prevails, and you see him getting involved. Oh, let us solve this problem, you know. So I'm pleased with what he's doing, even in the area of health, mother and child hospitals and all that. I think he started well, despite the ugly intervention of COVID-19. I think Selebu has done well so far, and I want him to continue.
BK's new name for the governor.
No, he's had that name for some time.
And I think
he's had that name for some time. I don't want to simply call him my namesake because I'm proud of him, but I want Nigerians to choose to call him what is how his best friends address him, which is Selebu. I think he has sold himself to the hearts of Lagosians, and the future looks bright. Well done, Selebu.
Okay, I'm sure Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu will be grateful to my guests today on the program. And if I may add that Lagosians in some other parts of the state too, i.e. Amuwo-Odofin, Old Ojo, Oreade local government, are yearning for government presence as well. There's a pressing need for infrastructure development in those parts, particularly because of the presence of articulated vehicles. So, Governor Sanwo-Olu, I'm pleading on their behalf.
Let me just add
that government presence gets there as well. Okay, very quickly, we must wrap up.
I think he must also be praised for having a team that he listens to. Because some governors will have a team, they don't listen to them.
Yes,
their only shout is, this box stops on my table. So they take all the decisions.
It's not that kind of person. He doesn't have that nature.
So we should praise him for that.
Yes.
Because you don't just assemble a team for the sake of having a team, but he is listening to them. And that team too, we should praise them for doing very well.
Absolutely.
His commissioners, social advisors, the House of Assembly, the Deputy Governor, everyone.
Okay.
Everyone must jump in so that we can have the Lagos of our dream with Selebu at the helm.
Yeah. And we hope that this type of experience in governance will be replicated in other parts of Nigeria as well. That's all on Journalists Hangout. Join us again on Sunday as well from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. for Journalists Hangout. We're on YouTube, don't forget, at youtube.com/TBC News Nigeria. Thank you very much, BKO.
Thank you so much. Pastor.
You said that on Jade. Thank you, Mr. Dotson Ladipo.
Thank you so much.
We're glad to have you. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.